Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into some really fascinating material.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, publications from the JFK Lancer Group.
Okay.
And for folks who might not know,
Right.
this was a group that was really dedicated to researching and uncovering information about the JFK assassination.
Yeah, these folks were active in the late 1990s,
Right.
and they really went deep, you know?
Oh, wow.
Journals, conferences, the whole 9 yards.
And it's so interesting to me because they were working right as a lot of documents became declassified
Right.
because of the JFK Records Act.
Absolutely.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
It was a pivotal moment for JFK assassination research.
Wow.
I mean, imagine suddenly having access to information that had been hidden from the public for decades.
Yeah.
JFK Lancer was able to build on the work of earlier researchers and explore new avenues of inquiry.
That's so cool. So what were some of the big themes that jumped out at you from these JFK Lancer publications?
Well, Lee Harvey Oswald's role is always front and center, right?
Yeah. Right.
But JFK Lancer went beyond just the lone gunman versus conspiracy debate.
Okay.
They really dug into Oswald's background, his potential motives, and even explored the idea that there might have been two men named Lee Harvey Oswald.
Wait, two Oswalds?
Yeah.
That's wild.
It's a really interesting theory.
We'll definitely have to unpack that one.
Yeah.
What else stood out?
The potential involvement of various government agencies is another big one.
Okay.
Did the FBI or CIA know more than they let on?
Right.
Was there a cover-up?
Yeah.
JFK Lancer examined these questions meticulously, trying to let the evidence, including these newly declassified documents, lead the way.
It's like a real-life spy thriller. So speaking of intriguing leads, I came across this concept of JFK's 81 promises while I was going through the material.
Right.
What's the story there?
The 81 promises are fascinating because they weren't just vague campaign slogans.
Okay.
These were incredibly detailed policy recommendations.
Wow.
Developed by numerous task forces that JFK assembled before he even took office.
So he hit the ground running, huh?
Absolutely. And the scope of these promises was remarkable.
Oh?
It's like he had a blueprint for transforming America.
I noticed that some of these promises were pretty radical for their time. Rebuilding the entire waterway system, tackling pollution on a national level, creating a second market for industrial mortgages, a national Peace Corps.
Talk about shaking things up.
And that's precisely why some researchers believe these promises might offer a clue to JFK's assassination.
Really?
These weren't just theoretical ideas. JFK was actively pushing to make them a reality.
Okay.
Did these plans threaten powerful interests who benefited from the status quo?
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does.
If he was taking on such powerful forces, who stood to gain the most from silencing him?
Right. For example, he was advocating for stronger environmental regulations.
Okay.
While lauded by many, such a move would likely have angered industries that prioritized profit over environmental protection. Okay, so we've got Oswald government agencies and now potentially powerful business interests who might have seen JFK as a threat.
Yeah.
This is getting more complex by the minute.
It really is.
Let's talk about this two Oswald theory. What exactly did John Armstrong uncover?
Well, Armstrong's work is like something out of a detective novel, you know?
Okay.
He meticulously combed through school records, employment histories, even military documents, and he found all these discrepancies and contradictions that suggest there might have been two men named Lee Harvey Oswald whose lives were intertwined in this really bizarre way.
It's almost too strange to be true. What kind of discrepancies are we talking about?
Well, for example, Marina Oswald. Lee Harvey Oswald's wife recalled him speaking Russian with a Baltic accent.
Huh.
Not exactly something you'd expect from a guy born and raised in New Orleans, right?
That's a good point. It definitely raises some eyebrows.
Then there's the fact that several witnesses who knew Oswald before the assassination described him as being much shorter and stockier than the man who was arrested in Dallas.
So are you saying there might have been a deliberate attempt to create this confusing, almost contradictory identity for Oswald? But why?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
Was it to create confusion and sow doubt about the identity of the assassin? Was it to set up a patsy?
Yeah.
It certainly adds another layer of complexity to the whole story.
Speaking of Oswald, there were also a lot of questions raised about the rifle allegedly used in the assassination, weren't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The official narrative is that it belonged to Oswald.
Right.
But JFK Lancer researchers dug up some pretty compelling counterarguments. Several witnesses who worked at the Texas School Book Depository, where Oswald was employed, claimed they never saw him with a rifle.
And weren't there even some witnesses who claimed to have seen different men with rifles in Dealey Plaza that day?
Yes, there were a number of eyewitness accounts that described individuals who didn't fit Oswald's description, carrying rifles or acting suspiciously in the vicinity of the assassination. These accounts were largely dismissed by the Warren Commission. But JFK Lancer brought them back into the spotlight, raising questions about whether the official investigation had overlooked or even ignored crucial evidence.
It seems like JFK Lancer was determined to turn over every stone, even if it meant challenging the official narrative. Did they also look into the acoustic evidence from Dealey Plaza?
They sure did. Greg Janes, a researcher who presented at one of the JFK Lancer conferences, did a deep dive into the acoustic evidence and came to some pretty startling conclusions.
Oh, really?
He argued that the sounds attributed to gunshots might not have originated from where the Warren Commission claimed.
So he's suggesting that there might have been more shots fired from different locations.
That's exactly what he's proposing. And if he's right, it would blow the official narrative wide open.
Wow.
It would mean that there was more than one shooter, which lends credence to the idea of a conspiracy.
This is where my head starts to spin a little. So many possibilities, so many different threads to follow. It's easy to see why the JFK assassination continues to fascinate people even today.
And it's a testament to the dedication and meticulous work of researchers like JFK Lancer, who have spent years poring over documents, interviewing witnesses, and piecing together this incredibly complex puzzle.
It's almost like they were conducting their own parallel investigation, picking up where the official inquiries left off.
Exactly. And in doing so, they've uncovered a wealth of information that challenges the conventional wisdom and forces us to reconsider what we thought we knew about the JFK assassination.
So much of this hinges on the information that became available thanks to the JFK Records Act. Can you remind us what that was all about?
The JFK Records Act, passed in 1992, mandated that all government documents related to the assassination be released to the public.
Okay.
It was a huge victory for transparency and for researchers who had been fighting for access to this information for years.
It must have been like striking gold for groups like JFK Lancer. Suddenly, they had access to a trove of previously unseen documents. What kind of impact did that have on their research?
It was a game changer. It allowed them to corroborate or refute existing theories, uncover new leads, and gain a deeper understanding of the events leading up to, during, and after the assassination.
Speaking of uncovering new leads, there was one figure that JFK Lancer didn't shy away from investigating: Jack Ruby. He's always been such a shadowy figure in this whole story.
You can't talk about the JFK assassination without talking about Jack Ruby.
Right.
He's the ultimate wild card. JFK Lancer delved into his background, his connections, and his possible motives for killing Oswald.
So what did they find out? Was there any consensus on why Ruby did it?
That's one of the biggest mysteries of the entire saga.
Yeah.
Some theories suggest he was acting on orders from the mob, while others believe he was a patsy himself, manipulated into silencing Oswald before he could reveal a wider conspiracy.
It's mind-boggling to think that there are still so many unanswered questions even after all these years.
It just goes to show you how deep this rabbit hole goes. The JFK assassination is a labyrinth of conspiracy theories, unanswered questions, and conflicting evidence. But that's what makes it so fascinating, right?
It's like a puzzle where you keep finding more and more pieces, but you're never quite sure if you'll ever have the complete picture.
That's a great way to put it. And that's why the work of groups like JFK Lancer is so important.
Yeah.
They've helped to shed light on some of the darker corners of the story and keep the conversation going.
They really played a crucial role in keeping the spirit of inquiry alive. And they weren't afraid to invite diverse voices into the conversation.
Right.
I read that they even hosted conferences with big names like Jim Marrs,
Oh, wow.
the author of Crossfire, and even Kerry McCarthy, a cousin of John F. Kennedy.
Those conferences were like summits for JFK assassination researchers.
Wow.
They were a melting pot of ideas, theories, and evidence, and they really helped to advance the understanding of this complex event.
Wow, a member of the Kennedy family attending a JFK assassination conference. That's pretty remarkable. What was her take on all of this?
Kerry McCarthy's presence was significant. She spoke about the impact of the assassination on her family and the enduring questions that remained. It was a powerful reminder that this wasn't just some abstract historical event.
Right.
It was a tragedy that had a profound impact on real people.
I imagine those conferences were full of lively discussions and maybe even a few heated debates.
There were definitely some passionate exchanges,
Yeah.
but there was also a shared sense of purpose among the researchers.
Mm.
They were all united in their determination to find the truth about JFK's death, even if that truth was uncomfortable or challenging to accept.
It's inspiring to see that kind of dedication and perseverance in the face of such a complex and often frustrating mystery.
Absolutely. The JFK assassination is a reminder that history is an ongoing process of discovery and interpretation.
Yeah.
And as new information comes to light, we may need to revise our understanding of even the most well-known events.
And that's what makes this exploration so compelling. It's like we're peeling back the layers of history, one piece of evidence at a time. It feels like we've only just scratched the surface here.
Yeah, that's the thing about the JFK assassination.
Right.
It's a rabbit hole that just keeps going deeper.
Yeah.
But even if we can't, definitively solve the mystery, I think it's important to understand why it continues to fascinate us.
What are your thoughts on that? Why do you think the JFK assassination still hold such a grip on our collective imagination?
Well, for one thing, it was a shocking and tragic event that took place in broad daylight,
Right.
captured on film for the whole world to see.
Yeah.
It shattered this sense of innocence and security that many Americans felt at the time.
Yeah. It was like the ultimate disruption of normalcy.
Wow.
One minute you have a young, charismatic president riding in a motorcade, waving to the crowds, and the next minute.
Exactly. It was a stark reminder that even in a seemingly stable and prosperous society, violence and chaos can erupt at any moment. And then there's the fact that it happened to John F. Kennedy, a figure who still holds this almost mythical status in American culture.
He was Camelot personified. His assassination felt like the end of an era, a loss of hope for a brighter future.
And the fact that it remains unsolved, shrouded in mystery and controversy, only adds to its allure.
Yeah.
It invites us to become amateur detectives.
Right.
To sift through the evidence and try to piece together what really happened.
Everyone loves a good mystery, and this one has it all. Political intrigue, shadowy figures, conflicting accounts, and the possibility of a cover-up. It's like a real-life thriller that we can't seem to turn away from.
Absolutely. And it forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about power secrecy and the limits of our knowledge.
Yeah.
We like to believe that we can understand the world around us, that there are answers to be found if we just look hard enough.
But the JFK assassination reminds us that sometimes the truth is elusive, that there may not be a simple or satisfying explanation for even the most momentous events. Maybe that's why we keep coming back to it. We're searching for something, even if we don't know exactly what that something is.
I think you're right. There's a part of us that wants to believe that we can make sense of chaos, that we can find order in the midst of tragedy. But maybe the real lesson of the JFK assassination is that sometimes we just have to live with the uncertainty.
And embrace the quest for truth, even if that quest never truly ends.
Beautifully said. That's the spirit of JFK Lancer, isn't it?
Yeah.
To keep asking questions, keep digging for answers, and keep the conversation alive.
Well, it's been a fascinating deep dive exploring their work, and I have no doubt that our listeners have plenty to ponder after hearing all this.
Me too.
All of these intricacies surrounding the JFK assassination.
Yeah, it's an event that continues to resonate with us for a reason. It speaks to something deep within the human psyche, our need to understand our thirst for justice, and perhaps our feel that some things may forever remain beyond our grasp.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on this journey. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep that spirit of curiosity alive.